So hello everyone and welcome to the penultimate episode of Wellbeing Wednesday. We're up to episode 29. So we've done 29 weeks straight since near the start of lockdown. And so we decided that given, particularly in Victoria, that we're hopefully emerging out of and people are starting to be able to move around a bit more, that we might have a little break and we'll reassess and just see where we go, because Louise and I have loved doing this. We've loved connecting with you all, and we've had messages through the week as well, and people saying that even when they can't make it to a live session, they're watching the recordings as well. So that's really good to know. But yeah, we just thought we'd take a little break and do a review and see where we go with Wellbeing Wednesday in the future. And so we are recording this session. I'm Cynthia Marnie, and I'm a leadership development facilitator, coach, speaker, and I'm really passionate about people being able to perform at their best, whether that be in teams as leaders or just in their lives in general. And so well-being is a really key plank of being able to perform at your best. And we thought during lockdown that it was going to be really important to keep focusing on well-being, because it is one of those things that it's easy to put last on the list, but it's really important. And I'd like to introduce my colleague, Louise. Hello, Louise.
Hi, Cynthia. And similar to Cynthia's line of business, I find myself busy in the leadership mentoring space. And I was just reflecting on that the other day, where in a lot of cases after meeting a person for the first time, which was generally face-to-face, but these days through the screen, we'd always get to sleep and energy. And I always find myself saying, let's not meet again until we get that sleep sorted, so that we can really do some work together, because that has always been the underlying issue of energy and lesser desired performance. So that's where I've been spending a lot of my time. It's even far more in the last 7-8 months. So now we're all using different devices, Cynthia, and when you came on earlier, Cynthia mentioned that we're in control, and you'll see Dianne, our guest here, you'll see us, but you can't see yourselves, and you won't be able to use your voice until the end of the session, where we generally have a Q&A. But do use the chat room, as has been mentioned. Check in where you're from, how you're feeling today. I always love to know if you've put into practice what the previous week's speaker shared. So last week was Bridget Donovan, and she talked about find a way for exercise, find a way to make your home more beautiful, a sanctuary, given that's where we're spending a lot of our time, especially as Melbourne peaks. And the third one was, what was it, Cynthia? Can you remember the third?
Can someone remember? I've got a mind like a goldfish at the moment. It's COVID brain. I'm just finding that things are going in, and I've got no memory of what's been happening. So,
oh, someone will know. Oh, yes, Nosh. Thanks, Nosh. About surrounding yourselves with your core friends. And Bridget talked about she still keeps together with her school friends, and they're better than counsellors. So do let us know if you've put anything into practice. So that's great. So I'll let you take the lead, Cynthia. We're going to kind of do a bit of interviewing today, but I'll just put myself on mute so I don't.
Okay. You're not going to get a word in, Louise. You do know that, don't you? What's your mute? I just want to say, Jenny Martin, I'm so excited that some of your 5 children are back at school today. Yay! And I hope the rest of them are back next week. So I'm very excited for you. And thanks, Nosh, for your contribution as always. So yeah, we've got 14 with us, so thanks everyone. And I would like to now welcome our very special guest, Dianne Ray, who is the proprietor of the Shared Table in Buninyong near Ballarat. And it's a first, as Louise said. We're actually in the restaurant with Dianne today, And this is a space that we haven't been in our 29 weeks of Wellbeing Wednesday. So welcome, Dianne.
Hello, Cynthia. How are you?
Yeah, going really well, thank you. So can you tell us a little bit about your establishment and what goes on there?
Well, the Shared Table is a restaurant that is pretty new. We only, basically began service last November in 2019. Has never been a restaurant before. It used to be a derelict building, built in the late 1800s, and has been, we did a full build and fit out of the place, and that took us close to 2 years. So it's been a pretty major project. I've never done this before, and I project managed it so that I could keep all the tradespeople local, so that all our dollars that we were spending on the place would go back into our community. And that was really important, to make it a place that was of Buninyong. We sourced most of the interior fittings, such as chairs and tables. They're all being made locally as well. So it's all about keeping our things here and dollars back into our community. The restaurant seats around 60 people normally. At the moment we seat 10, and that's all that's allowed inside. And going forwards on the square meterage rule, that will be all that we're allowed to have inside. Before, in the previous lockdown, we could seat 20, and that was the maximum going forward. So the current climate has very much restricted what we do. I think it's a beautiful space, and everyone who's walked in here loves it. It's a restaurant that has a kitchen that's open, very much connecting as part of the dining room, because having come into being a chef later in life, I always was really mystified about what happened in the kitchen. And so I wanted to have the diners be a part of my kitchen, because that's what we do at dinner parties. We share our kitchen or share our dining room with our friends, and as part of that really enjoyable connection. And I wanted that to really exist between our kitchen, our staff, and the diner, so that they could feel part of the whole theatre, I suppose, because it is a bit of theatre at times. And it also makes my staff behave because they're on view. Not always. So it's been a big journey with building the restaurant, and then to suddenly find it not open last March, at the end of March, was pretty hard. We had come off 2 years of pretty much rolling, working out how everything was going to work. I was trying to be a bit innovative as to how our menu and things would be different. We weren't an a la carte restaurant. We do what's called dining without decision. So you come and we feed you. So we decide on the menu for the month. You can see that menu and decide if you want it or not. And also we change it up if people don't eat certain things with enough notice. But we found that worked really well from a no waste point of view. It reduced staff needs in the beginnings, because we don't know how you go in the first wee while of opening a restaurant. So to employ lots of staff is really quite scary, to have to be able to give them all work. So we thought we'd just start slowly, and I decided on working with the limited menu, or the dine without decision menu, for those reasons. And everyone's really embraced it. They've loved it. And they've said, you know what, it's great to come and just be fed. Not have to think about what I've got to choose and then worry, oh, maybe I should have had that, which was the other thing. But it also went more with my philosophy of being fed in a dining room like you would at a dinner party. Because you don't get to choose when you go out to dinner with your friends and a dinner party. You just sit down and you get fed. And that's pretty much, how I wanted it to roll.
That is amazing. I really love it. It's so thoughtful, and it sounds like it's a real reflection of of your values. It's an expression of what's important to you.
Yeah, I guess so. It's I've always been intrigued by different foods and the way that generosity and community and just that conviviality of sharing food, sharing company, because it's not, I mean, I come from a food aspect of it because I'm the chef, but I see the roundness of it is that it's about connection with whoever you're sitting down to eat with. It's a connection with what's on your plate and where that food came from and how it's been prepared, and the degree of care and respect that goes into that plate, and to making you comfortable, feel at home, and now more so than ever to feel safe within our four walls. And that's pretty important, I think.
So, yeah, that's amazing. And so just how did you cope with you've had these plans, this vision, you would have done your budgets and planned ahead, and then bang, out of nowhere, how did you cope with that? What's got you through?
Probably I didn't manage that well initially. I was very tired from having started up the business. It was my baby because it's my first business, and I put a lot of energy into it and a lot of invention, a lot of creativity. And then to suddenly have everything that we just got rolling and was working to say, turn around, it's all done, changed all again, now rethink it all again. And felt like I'd run the marathon and had someone at the other end with a card going, turn back, you've got to run it again. And I just needed time out for a while, I think. So I immersed myself in things that that sustain and nourish me, which is my garden. And I went to, and I picked a whole lot of different plants, cuttings, and thought, okay, I'm going to grow something because that will make me feel like I'm doing something positive. I can't go near my restaurant or think about it at the minute. So I closed down my restaurant for a good month until I sort of found what was going to happen in all this time, what would be, what we still don't know, but what might be the new normal. And I thought at least 4 weeks, no one will know what's going on before then. So I did that. I grew lots of cuttings of simple plants that are easy to grow, and they're now flowering. So that's been a lovely thing to have that, and I see a result. And I find often if I put my hands in dirt and connect with dirt and growing things, that's what calms me, I guess, and makes me feel better being outside and in the dirt. And it probably comes back to maybe my days when I was growing up on a dairy farm in northern Victoria, that my dad was a very big veggie grower and loved to do that sort of thing, and would have a connection with him out in the garden and seeing things grow and eating them. And I didn't manage it that well to start with.
Understandable. What a huge emotional letdown. Because you probably, I mean, often when we've had our eye on the prize and we get there is a bit of a letdown anyway. But you had your eye on the prize, you've got there, like you said, and then the rug's pulled out from under you. So totally sounds natural that you maybe were just going, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean, I went through the whole parameter of things of not sleeping well, feeling anxious, that just, there was a whole, and it felt like my whole world instantly overnight. And I guess a lot of people have felt this instantly overnight. All those things that I found grounding, I had wonderful habits of fitness that I had for 3 nights every week. I would go to my Pilates class with my friends. There was a tight little gaggle of us here in Buninyong, and that was closed. I no longer had that And I'd been doing that regularly 3 nights a week for 18 months. And that was my huge well-being thing that I did during building the restaurant and managing, working hard in the restaurant, was I had my Pilates, and, you know, come hell or high water, I did my Pilates. It didn't matter how many hours I'd worked. That was my 45 minutes, and I felt great, felt really good. And then suddenly no Pilates, and then no restaurant. And yeah, it was just a lot of things that were removed. And I felt really rudderless, like a boat that had just been let go out in the water and figure its way, you know. So to try and work out because I'm a girl that loves boundaries, so I love to have my frameworks, that's where I feel comfortable. I can define where I'm going, what I'm doing. I need a list, all those things. And then to not have any direction or not know what was going on was quite challenging. Yeah.
So you took the month, you got your hands in the dirt, and then what did you do? How did you reimagine the new business model, and what happened?
I have a dear friend who works with native bush foods, and her name Bridget, and she has Salt Bush Kitchen, and it's her own little creation, and she is a colourful, very innovative and clever woman. And she rang me up one day and said, Di, she was at a loss because her little shop was closed. She said, I've bought an iPod. I bought my phone holder, and I'm going to make little videos, and I'm going to tie them in with my bush foods and make it sort of around our village Buninyong, so we can connect and feel like we're all in touch with each other in this isolation. And she said, would you be happy to cook something? And I sort of thought, oh yeah, that sounds like fun. And so Bridget came down to my kitchen here at the restaurant, and I prepared a dish that I thought I would use her pepperberries with, and we were going to kangaroo, and I made a black pepperberry sauce with that. And we just got chatting, and we had lots of laughter. It was good fun. I had my hands back on food. I could think about the ingredients and what would match. She would ask me questions that would get me thinking again. And it was just a nice connection again about the food and about how people could enjoy it. And I just thought, yeah, I think I'm ready to get back into this and think about how I can get back into this again. And so then I started to think, well, how can my restaurant food at all transpire to being takeaway? And I just couldn't do it as a takeaway, because to try and do my food into a takeaway concept would devalue what I would put on the plate. So I tried to think about how I would still be able to do something but have it not hot takeaway. So I developed the pickup and delivery. So you would come and you would pick up a bag full of goodies. We email you the directions, and you finish it off at home. And 90% of the work was done, but you get to have an input and create your plate of food at home, which would be as close as you could get to what I would cook or serve you in the restaurant. And that way I honoured the ingredients that went into what we prepared and put on your plate, and hopefully the diner got to experience as close as what we could do. That made me have to rethink how we do menus, and how I then have to instruct people to finish it off at home, because some of our ingredients are I like a bit of weird and bizarre things. And so, I always have my kids or my friends who say, you're going to have a definition at the end of your menu so people know what they're eating. Some of the ingredients are a little bit left of centre. I work with a fair few Japanese ingredients, and not a lot of people know about them so much. How in country Victoria maybe more so. So to think about how I put it together, how I got you guys all to finish it off at home, was was a real interesting. And then it was like telling a story on the page about what you were going to put on your plate. So we would put little jokes in amongst it, and we did a kids menu and get them in. So I'd write instructions about how to get them involved as well, how to cook. So yeah, that was fun. I enjoyed that. And then the nicest thing was that people came into the dining room to collect their meals, and it was a name that was connected to the customer. Whereas often I would look out to my dining room and I wouldn't know who the people were. But this way, people coming in, I found out who they were, and it was not. That was really nice. So we reinvented ourselves, and that went pretty well. People loved doing it. We had husbands coming in to do it for their wives' birthdays, and I'd sort of say, "So who's the chef today?" And they'd say, "Oh, I am." And off they'd go. So yeah, and they'd come back, and yeah, they loved it. They thought it was good fun and not too difficult.
That's isn't it amazing? You just wouldn't have thought that that's what you would be doing, and you've reinvented, and you've very creative, Dianne.
I think you have to be. And that's I think during this time it's been pretty exhausting trying to totally be that creative thing and working out every step or ways to to get around another hurdle that's been put in you. So that has been one of the most difficult things, that you're constantly tired because your mind's racing all the time about trying to preempt what might need to be done. Like we got the notice to reopen only like 24 hours pretty much again this time. So it was like, okay, do we wait 2 weeks? What are we waiting for? If we wait for that 2 weeks, how do we get set up and ready to go again? So yeah, and now that we can only seat 10 people in the restaurant, that's not enough to sustain, but it still requires a staff member in the kitchen. It requires a staff member in the restaurant. So how does that work? How do we make that pay? How do we try and sustain ourselves on 10 people? Yeah, we can do outdoor dining, but snow flurries is not a fun place to dine in. And which was last week, and
yeah.
So, and you look at people and say, "Oh, but you can sit outside," and they're going, no, so they don't. And so, and also our takeaway and our delivery options have dried up as well. So I think with this, people have thought, "Oh, we can go out now," and so they're not bothering so much about that. Which is really important, because that's what props us up. The people who dine at home prop up what is happening in the restaurant.
Yes.
So, but yeah, we're still working on that one.
Yeah, it's just constant, isn't it? It's constant. That's what's so exhausting on our brains, is that it's not just like you've had one change and you've responded. It's continual needing to, as someone wrote in the chat box, pivot. It was probably not. And it takes a lot out of you. So Dianne, I'm really interested. My attention was caught when you talked about your dad and growing up on the dairy farm. And with your well-being, when you're working with plants, does that connection with your childhood, how does that impact on your sense of well-being?
And my mother used to run a nursery of plants. She had a hothouse and things, and I have a hothouse and I grow plants, and so it connects a lot. It was a way I earned pocket money, was what I would grow plants, and then any plants that got sold of mine, I would get the money. So but it was just lovely to see things grow, and maybe it's a nurturing thing that comes from seeing things that you handle and manage and put effort into. It was a way that I connected with my parents as well, particularly my dad. He was, a dairy farmer, and he, I guess, he always called me his chief. I was the eldest of 6, and I would often head out with Dad on the tractor and, be his buddy for the day. So it was something we shared, and I guess now it's that comfort thing and going back to your roots and where you began and who you are, that is pretty ingrained, and you don't often think about it. And it's funny, but it's a calming thing too. Maybe it's part of that parental care that you get, and it's rewarding too, seeing these things grow and bloom. And I go down, I call it my she shed. So it's so I go down to my she shed and hang out and plant seeds that often will be for eating now. So we have a lovely bluestone wall out the front of the restaurant. And I thought instantly when we had opening for outside dining that I'd like to create an area that we've got a beautiful big veranda. It's the old veranda of an 1800s building. And I thought, just things of England with the geraniums falling over the walls and off pubs and all that sort of thing. I thought about doing that. And then I went and looked at nurseries, thinking about buying some quick colourful plants when we were allowed to open. And then I actually set in my head that I'm going to make this an edible array of plants. Nice. So I've now got wasabi rocket and tatsoi and Japanese spinach and all different edible things that people might not know about. But when they sit out there, they can look and they can taste it, and they can ask about it and maybe get a bit of knowledge about it. So
it's a whole sensory experience.
You see it growing, you see it on your plate, and you actually eat it. So
yeah,
that's
fantastic. And so I was really fascinated by the word journey, so acne, but journey, because you were a nurse for quite a while. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about, because you've got such a strong love of food. So I'm really keen to know, how did that happen, that you detoured to nursing and then you came to food, or did you discover your love of food through, how did that happen?
I think I have always enjoyed food. I always loved eating out and have developed a very wide-ranged palate and sought food to eat and sought the different experiences that food gives you, whether it be in a market or at a high-end restaurant or a cooking lesson that you attend. So I managed to do that as part of my recreation. And nursing I did when I left school and became a nurse, and then I loved nursing. I still love nursing, and I probably would still contemplate doing it. But I had 4 kids, and some of them I had very prematurely. They were, very sick for a long time. So it didn't allow me to go back to nursing and on the grounds or on the way I wanted to go back to nursing. And then in part of my caring for kids at home, and a friendship that I developed with a wonderful chef, Peter Ford, I learned a bit about food, and he had a dilemma in his kitchen one day where he needed some extra people just to do some chop, pick herbs, just basic dishes and things like that. And I sort of said, I love food, I'll come and give you a hand. And then I kept going back to the kitchen and working there with his other staff, his other chef at the time. And I thought, I really like this. This is great. I love the camaraderie in the kitchen. I like the working with ingredients, seeing how they all progressed to becoming a meal at the end and how everyone had a part to play in that. And I thought, I wonder if I could do this. I might as well do this learn to do this properly. wonder if he'll take me on as an apprentice. And I put it to him, and that's one of the philosophies I go by, is that if you don't ask the question, it's already no. So, you know, it's already no if you don't ask. So you got nothing to lose. So I asked him, would you be prepared to take me on as an apprentice on a part-time basis? And he discussed it with his wife, and they talked about it, and they agreed. So I then became a part-time apprentice and mother of 4 kids still going through school, and wife to a very busy professional. And yeah, it was challenging, but it was a constant juggling. So then I got on this journey of being a chef journey, as we say. Sometimes I just call it a trip. Trip. So I sort of left nursing behind. From that point, it became another crossroad. It's like the roads that you take and choose to go. So I chose to pursue the cooking side and chefing side. And a lot of chefs just shake their head and go, "You've left nursing to become a chef?" Most people do it the opposite way around, because chefs are paid so poorly. They see it as they nearly saw it as a step down. From being a nurse to becoming a chef was not a sideways step by any means. Everyone saw it as going down because they work so hard and they get paid so little. And I could see that, and I'm probably fortunate enough that I'm in a relationship and a situation that I'm not the breadwinner. So my wage wasn't determining whether food was on the table or the house got paid for or kids' school fees got paid for. So I was maybe a bit indulgent probably, but it was still important. And yeah.
It's so gutsy, Dianne. So gutsy to do that, to leave it's really bold.
I was in my 40s.
Bold. You're in your 40s.
Yeah, I was in my early 40s.
Yeah.
And
love it.
Most of the apprentices were the same age as my eldest son.
Yeah.
So they used to call me mum a lot of the time down in Melbourne. And yeah, they would.
So yeah, it's never too late. Never too late to try something different. And
I think that's also part of it, is you do something that you love. And that was probably one of the tools of well-being, is do something you love. Do something you enjoy. Not everyone can do that, and I suppose you try and find joy in what you're doing more so. That every job has its downsides and its bits, like 10 kilos of onions is not fun or joy, but you just you look at the bottom of it and say done. So but yeah, so I think gutsy, I think if you don't give it a crack, then you never know.
And it also sounds like you had a really lovely mentor as well. Yes, yeah.
He's a tough boy to work for, but very generous and very insightful. I developed breast cancer about 6 months into my first year of my apprenticeship, and that required some radical surgery, that required chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and through all of that, Pete understood that it was really important for me to have normality, and my normal was rocking up to the kitchen, and that was as an integral part of my treatment as my chemotherapy. So he was great at understanding that, and I was probably as useless as in the kitchen, but he was very understanding and was very supportive of me being in the kitchen. He wouldn't let me be in the kitchen if we were going out to a function, because he does catering. He's a caterer, fine-end catering. We'd often prep in the day and then cater and head off to our function at night or day. And he would put his foot down and said, you can either prep or you can come to the function, but you're not doing both. And that was I needed that meterage. And but yeah, he gave me some normality where I'd walk into the kitchen and, you know, the other chefs that were in there, they'd all say, "How are you today, Di?" And I'd say, "Yeah, I'm good." And they'd tell me the joke of the day and then give me the 10 kilos of onions. So you didn't get out of those either. So that was good. It was normal.
Yeah, so you weren't a cancer patient.
No. And you just don't, you don't want that sort of patting of your hand and going, there, are you okay? And, you know, it's like, hey, I live with this every minute of the day. The more normal that I can feel and do, that's better for me. And that's a personal thing, but that's how I managed it and how I wanted to deal with it, just to be normal. My husband, he called me an ostrich because I had my head in the sand probably, but it's how I wanted to get through it. I didn't want to be sick. I wanted to get on with my life. I didn't want the cancer or the treatment or the byproducts to be ruling what I did. I wanted to be able to navigate it myself. I had to take into account what I had to do to stay well, but at the same time, it was really important that I found that balance between.
And what role did food play in your, you know, that nurturing and that? What did that do for you in your recovery and treatment?
Food, my taste buds changed quite a lot during the treatments. I could, like, straight after chemotherapy, the taste was metallic, was horrid. You're nauseous, you know. So food was, you sought different flavours. So it didn't play as much of a role then as it did in the past, but I was still interested. It was it's like a puzzle, I guess. I see food like a puzzle where you balance textures, colour to people's eye, what the flavour, the balances. So you get crunch, you get creaminess. So it was trying to work out those things more, and yeah, I couldn't taste it very well though. So I have friends who also had breast cancer, and they found that they went very organic and very much into the healthy aspects of it. I didn't pursue that though, I have to say. I just kept on with the butter.
Gosh, you've got a beautiful turn of phrase, Dianne. You've got such a wonderful way of describing things. When you speak and you use lots of metaphors in your descriptions of things, I can really see what, you know, you're saying the puzzle's like a puzzle, and you've said lots of things. It's like this, it's like that. It's great. You've got a great way of speaking.
The only way I know how. I don't know.
Beautiful. So in your bio, you said that you came out the other side an even more resilient woman. Tell me about that.
I guess it was more that I came out with that philosophy, you don't ask, it's, you know, the answer's no already. So and it was making things count, that I didn't want to waste things, whether it's time, effort, respect of what other people do. I didn't want to waste bits of, I became resilient. I suppose it's maturing as well. You get older, you cop less crap, that sort of stuff. So you just want to, I didn't want to be involved in things that were unnecessary or around people that are not positive as much. So I suppose resilient, or willing to give stuff a go. That's how I suppose I got into chefing. So, but then to actually be able to continue doing it through that time and to pick it up again 18 months later, because that's, I had to go onto a medication that wasn't on the PBS at the time, because the kind of cancer I had was quite a nasty one, and they discovered this drug, but it wasn't on our health benefits, so we had to pay for it, and every time it was up in the drip, it was $4,500, and I had to have that every 3 weeks for 13 months. So it was, thankfully, it's now on the PBS. So
Yeah.
it's improved people were mortgaging their homes to have it. It was just horrendous. So, but thankfully that's now part of things. And resilience, yeah, I don't know. It just sort of, I just needed to know that I was back in charge, and that that my illnesses weren't in charge.
Now, Louise, do you have any questions that you would like to ask? Louise, oh, sorry, did I freeze then?
A little.
No.
Sorry. Louise, have you got any, where would you like to take this, Louise, this interview?
Well, I just want to ask on behalf of Nosh about how did your clientele react to those unconventional ingredients you used in the food?
What we do, I like to say, is we like to surprise and make people feel, yeah, that's delicious, you know. So things that they don't normally eat. And I've had numbers of people go, there is no way I would have ordered that if I was in a restaurant. And I've eaten it and it was amazing. So that is the answer. That's, to me, is exactly why we do this. So to be able to surprise people that things are delicious that they might have a preconceived idea about is a great challenge. And I had one gentleman not long ago, and he's probably in his early 60s, and we served we have a little house-made milk bun, which is like shokopan Japanese white bread that we make into a bread roll. And I had a whole lot of frozen oysters in my freezer, and we do this, we don't want to waste things, so I thought, right, it's time I use those oysters. So we deep fried them in a panko crumb type batter, and we put them in with salad into these little buns, and they're bite-sized and really delicious. So with our little tartare. And he said to me when I collect his plate, because in these times I'm waiter and chef, so a lot of the time, and he said, I have never eaten an oyster, and I have now, and it was great. So, you know, so he's still giving people experiences that they didn't ordinarily have.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to throw in a question before there's a couple here to ask you from others. What about you with your family? Your changing careers and your health. How's that impacted on your tribe of kids? You know, are we seeing anything in their lives that somehow is mirroring your approach?
I suppose my kids are pretty grounded. They're pretty solid people. And yeah, they're amazing adults now with they're pursuing what they want to do, and they're happy and they're healthy. So I think, yeah, I think they're being able to navigate their way through various situations, and whether it's because of, in some indirect way, of seeing what their parents do and how they manage stuff, I suppose there's always that influence, and how they roll. But they're also very individual. They're very different, each one of my kids, and they've each got an incredible strength of their own that I'm very grateful that they are such amazing people, and they are resilient. They've been, you know, they're managed. And I think some of the things, though, when I was doing breast cancer stuff, I tried to keep it normal, because it was important for me to be normal. It was very important for my kids to see normal as well. Not hide it, not by any means. I didn't wear a wig, I wore a bandana and things, because the summer was too hot in the kitchen. So yeah, they saw it not as a weakness, I guess, but as something you have to navigate and do. So that's what a lot of what they do these days, they navigate and do, which is yeah, they're good. They're good.
That's great to hear. It's yeah, you hear so many parents in the past and even now who, you know, are quite specific how they'd like to see their kids unfold, whereas, you know, it's great to hear that, you know, they've seen how you can navigate what you want to do, and it sounds like you've been a great role model for that.
Yeah. Oh, not always.
Well, there's a bit of a balance there, isn't there?
Yeah. I had no expectations for my kids on whatever they pursued as their careers. I had 3 expectations of them: that they were happy, healthy, and that they didn't hurt anybody. They were the 3 things. I said, do what you like, but those are the 3 things. And yep, I think
happy, healthy, and don't hurt. They're great.
So yeah, they're the principles I asked them to do, and they're pretty much there most of the time.
Including at home.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. So Estelle has asked, Dianne, during this time of radical uncertainty, what is your wellness priority? Do you see that serving you well into transition back into whatever the future holds? So what's your wellness priority in this current time?
I think my wellness priority is to, I know I need to step back a little bit from where I am at the moment. I'm so immersed in it at the minute, to it's the survival of the restaurant, to making sure it's there on the other side, that I need to make sure that I'm going to be on the other side with it, and that I'm not too tired or lose my motivation. So I know that, because I haven't had a day off for a wee while, because I have to be doing things on my business and in my business. So that I know that is what I need to do. I need to get some time, and that's what I really need to do for my wellness. I need to maybe go to my she shed for a while. Yeah. But it's easier. It's easy to recognise it. It's not so easy to put it into practice sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And the fact that you see it yourself, that's great. Sometimes we rely on others, you know, to make, you know, those around close to us to comment. But if you see it in yourself, that's always a great sign. Now, I did see another question. No. Oh, Nosha is leaving us, and he's hungry. I felt hungry before listening in on the dish. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. What's on the menu? What's cooking at the moment?
Well, I just written a new menu yesterday, so we're busy preparing that for tomorrow. We make our own little nori chips here. So we've got that, and that's going with a play. We do a play on things. And no. Just bear with me 1 minute.
Is that the meat order?
The meat delivery?
It's someone coming to do an order. We don't need anything today. Thank you. Bye. Just after seeing if I need cleaning stuff, which I don't need this week. So
right.
Such is the way of the restaurant.
It's a live immersion in the restaurants. This is what happens.
Yep. Luckily, there's not too many in the kitchen today. Otherwise, there might be a bit of swearing and things going on that happens in a kitchen. But that's kitchen. So yeah, back to we're doing chicken skin pork dumplings. So we're using chicken skin gets chucked away by the bucket loads, and I get it for free. So it's something I can use, and I use it instead of a wonton wrapper or the skin of a gyoza and things like that. So these will be pork dumplings, and we use the chicken skin to hold it and cook it. It actually is deep fried, so it's like the ultimate dim sim. So if you know, the best part of a chicken is the roast skin, so it tastes amazing. We're also doing some Wagyu rib straps that have been braised, smoked, and that's with a soy and ginger chili sauce. And we do our little battered shallot rings with that. So it's like onion rings, but just smaller. And they're all 3 little snacks that you get at the start of the meal.
And start.
Yeah, they're all just tiny little nibbles, those ones. That's just to tease you into. And we've got pork belly on for main course, which is braised in a miso. So we've got a miso broth that's braised with that. And we do our own pickled cabbages and king brown mushrooms. We've got an awesome grower here that grows the most amazing array of oyster mushrooms in they're orange, yellow, cream, chocolate coloured. They're really amazing. And then dessert, which everyone loves dessert. We got a coconut sugar meringue. We do it in a form of Eton mess. And that has lime curd, which we've got a guy that drops all the limes off to us off his trees, rhubarb from up the road. We make a caramel, miso caramel, which is, if you think salted caramel's good, you've got to try this one. This is really good because the miso gives it a salty base and a salty flavour, but it's smoother than the salt crystals. So it's very nice.
You've won us over, Dianne. You've won us over. Don't need any more convincing. Now, we always finish up with not only questions, but your top 3 tips for well-being. And you'll be the last person in this series to give us your top 3.
Oh, wow.
And it can be what you've already told us, but is there a top 3?
The top 3. Well, I thought of 3. I thought of 6. I had 3. But I think it is, it's about spending time with people who are positive in your life. I think that's really important. Oh, goodness. Someone else is coming in the door. Sorry, I'm just doing something at the minute. Can you go up and see my son? That'd be great. Thank you. See, it's a happening place.
We'll interview them too.
I'm not sure what she's delivering. I think she's delivering wine. Yes. So spending time with people that are positive in your life. Have a purpose and a project and a goal. I think is really important. That you just need to have a goal in what you're doing. And don't lose sight of where you're going. That is, for me, it's about creating those boundaries and where I am. And I think giving back is a really important wellness tip. You feel it's about balance. So we often take a lot, but to give back, I think makes us all feel pretty good at the end of the day. Giving to friends or to a cause, or it doesn't have to be a big thing. It can just be a little thing in the day. That for me is makes me feel good at the end of the day. Is that 3?
That's great. Yep, beautiful 3. So positive people, stick with them. The purpose, project and goal, don't lose sight of it, and give back. So we'll definitely take note of that. So thank you, Dianne. Cynthia, will we give the mic to anyone? Anyone like to ask a question of Dianne?
Oh, Nosh. Yes, go Nosh.
Then you can't do, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
You can't say things like that on the menu when I'm just about to leave, because that's what the whole chat is about. I was hungry. I ate my lunch, Dianne, and I'm going like, this lady is talking everything I want to eat. And you reminded me of my days in London as well.
Ah,
Where I'd save money and I would just go and eat the yummiest food I could. Clearly, I didn't earn a lot of money, as we all done when we were working holiday. Um, but yeah, so where is your restaurant actually? Sorry.
it's in a small town called Buninyong, which is
That's
about
right. Yep.
10 minutes south of Ballarat.
When we've got release border like the restrictions release, I am coming. The whole experience is so awesome, and
Thank you, Nosh.
that's so good.
Yeah, just have a look on our website, and that'll show you pretty much the bits and pieces we do. And my son, my youngest son, he does the photography on there. Matt,
Okay.
he does all the photography for me.
Thanks for sharing your insights, your life, and your vulnerabilities as well, I must say. Thank you. Pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Both Nosh and Estelle have said, let's get together when everyone's released. We'll meet at your restaurant, Dianne, for a little Wellbeing Wednesday connection lunch.
Oh, that'd be
Sounds
awesome.
great.
Yep.
And
Anytime.
Nicole says, no question, but thanks, inspirational. I'll talk to my Ballarat friends about meeting there one day. Well done for keeping on going. Thanks again for sharing your time. So, yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Dianne. We'll wrap up there officially, and I just want to say thank you so much, Dianne, for being so generous with your time today.
No, that's all good. It's been fun.
Oh, that's so good. Really glad. And yeah, we'll see everyone next week for our final Wellbeing Wednesday for the moment. And we really want to next week, we're going to put it into meeting mode rather than webinar mode. And and Nosh, I'll get the photo in a sec. And we'll just, we'll send you a bit more detail, and we will ask you what it is that you might want to talk about. But we just basically want to do a bit of a connect and a wrap up, and what lessons have you learned, and how do we, keep each other supported going forward. So thanks, everyone. I'm going to stop official recordings now, and we'll see you next week.